Right. So, in functioning as a public relations personnel in a higher education institution and HEI, some of the things you'll be expected to do are industry relations and community relations. So, we're going to look at these two today, and then we'll also look at image and reputation management. So, we are discussing the functions of the public relations personnel in a higher education institution. Mind you, these are not all. These are some. We'll discuss others as we go along. Industry relations. So basically, when we talk about industry relations, we're talking about all the activities that an HEI does to maintain relationship with businesses or organizations. So we're looking at, for instance, the relations between University A, University of Ghana, or UPSA, or Harvard, and let's say a certain PR company in the respective country. You understand? So we are talking about the dealings between the higher education institutions and businesses or organizations they find themselves with. Now, the idea behind industry relations is far and wide. Some of the reasons industry relations is important is that it helps or encourages knowledge transfer. So if the higher education institution and the business organization have a positive relationship, they're able to share knowledge. Yeah, so when we say they're able to share knowledge, for instance, the organization is able to inform the institution of new practices that they are developing on the ground. These organizations are actually doing in practice, and the universities have their curriculum, which sometimes or most of the time lags behind actual practice. So the businesses organizations can inform or enlighten the universities or the HEIs on these new practices, and the HEIs can also, since they conduct research and whatnot, can also enlighten the industries organizations about, their research findings and how it can improve practice. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, let us go to the benefits of industry relations. I think I have already mentioned some of the benefits, which is exploring new ways of improving the curriculum. So, we often hear that there is sometimes a gap between theory and practice, between what is taught in the classroom and what is actually practiced on the ground when you go to the offices. When you're done with your education and go into the field, you realize things are different. Now, this can be stemmed by industry relations, that is, these HEIs having a positive relationship with industry so that they will be able to align theory and practice. Now, collaborations is also another way by which industry relations can benefit both parties. So, in collaboration, sometimes students would go for what they call internship. Yeah, so they get to actually see what is being done on the ground. Sometimes industry sometimes have challenges that they are unable to resolve. In certain parts of the world, what they sometimes do is they send these problems to the HEIs. The HEIs, with their students and staff, brainstorm on the possible ways by which they could handle the situation, and then they give feedback to the industry. Yeah, because of their knowledge in theories and practices happening all over the world, academia is able to help the industry by throwing more light and, you know, should I say, bringing to bear all that they have learned from other parts of the world to the problem that the industry may be facing. Now, this relationship also benefits academia in the sense that academia or staff of these HEIs, they conduct research all the time and they publish them. Now, when you're partnering with industry, what happens is sometimes industry may give you, rather than the staff or lecturers creating their own research problem or identifying their own research problem, writing about it and publishing, they can go to industry can come to academia and say, this is the problem, conduct research for us, and this is how much we are going to pay you. So academia or the HEIs conduct these researches on behalf of industry, and that is the third point, which is commercializing academic research outputs. Yeah, all right. Now, when you look at the slide, it continues talking about the benefits of industry relations. It focuses on industry. Now, one of the benefits is that industry, of course, gets access to highly skilled graduates. Now, you see this in partnerships where certain organizations have arrangements with certain universities that at the end of the academic year, we would want maybe 3 of your best in this area to employ. So, of course, it's a win-win. Academia gets to get employment for its students, and then the industry also gets to have the best and brightest talents manning their offices. Yeah, all right. I think the rest have already been discussed as I spoke, so I would not bother you with it. Moving on to challenges. Now, what are some of the challenges that we encounter with industry relations? Now, the first one we want to talk about is lack of understanding of each other's expectations. Now, the expectations of, I think when you read the Christian Bible, they say that there's this quote. It says, "Can two walk together unless they agree?" Now, for there to be fruitful industry relations, it means that the HEIs and the businesses or organizations ought to be on the same page. Now, what does business want? Or the organization? The organization is looking to increase profit. It is looking to grow. Academia often looks at bringing out the best in students and conducting research and community service. Now, because their interests are not so ideally aligned, it is difficult sometimes for them to come to an agreement as to how to benefit from each other. So that is one challenge that this industry relation can have. I think the same point is a different interests and needs. Difficulty in contacting individuals from industry and bureaucratic structures of firms. Now, what this point is seeking to say is that for any kind of partnership to happen between, HEIs and organizations, it means that the top managers of these two institutions would have to meet or sit and come to an agreement. It is difficult for higher education institutions to have access to the top guns. So you take MTN Ghana, for instance. Now, it's difficult, for instance, if you have a marketing department or the faculty of marketing and they would want to, let's say, have some industry relations with MTN. Now, getting access to the CEO of MTN might be difficult for this kind of partnership to occur. And so sometimes these things slow down the nature of partnerships that happen, or whether they even happen in the first place. From the perspective of the businesses or corporations or firms, one challenge is excessive bureaucracy. That is, before an agreement for an industry relation partnership to happen, it will have to go through so many desks before a green light is given. So sometimes it gets lost within the channel. People who are following get tired following up on where is it now? Is it with it's with HR, it's with operations. They said marketing should look at it too, and then the people get tired of following up, and then it falls through the cracks. There's also a low interest in collaboration, and this low interest, one would argue that it also stems from the fact that they have different needs and interests. So, because they do not share the same interests or needs or motivation, it is difficult for them to have interest in collaboration because they don't really see the benefits of partnering each other. Because, for instance, some people in the industry feel academia is archaic, as in they are behind the times. And people in academia feel people in practice like to do things off the cuff without conducting much research or measuring or evaluating it effectively to make sure that what they are doing is bringing fantastic results. So with these challenges and with these bureaucracies and all those things we have discussed today, you realize then that it is uncommon to come across, should I say, a wholly perfect industry relation, in any institution. Some institutions try, like you would find or you hear in the news, this university is partnering with this organization to do this or that. They try, but all in all, I think it could be better than it is now, and part of it is, I think, can be attributed to some of the challenges that we have discussed over here. Nevertheless, if you are a PR for a higher education institution and you are in charge of industry relations, what exactly are you expected to be doing? That's the question we're going to answer here. Like, what are you going to do for you to be able to say, okay, with what I am doing, I am engaging in industry relations? What are the various tasks? And as you can see here, You are to identify and facilitate interactions with prospective partners and funding sources for the university. So you are supposed to conduct your research, ask people around you, do some research and find out who are the prospective partners for this university, which are the organizations or institutions who would love to partner with this institution, with our institution. Normally, you can get this by looking at your institution and what you stand for. It is common to come across certain universities or HEIs. Normally, I say universities, but HEIs, remember, it goes beyond universities. Diploma awarding institutions are all part of HEIs. Any education above senior secondary qualifies as higher education institution. So sometimes you might find that an institution is noted for, let's say, health. Now, so when you are identifying prospective partners or organizational partners or industry partners, of course, it only makes sense that you target health institutions, and whatnot, so on and so forth. So if you are a university for, let's say, professional studies, and you're looking at communication and business, it gives you an idea of the kind of institutions, organizations that you will want to partner with. So you would have to identify and facilitate. So when you identify, you're not just going to leave it at that, you're going to facilitate. So you're going to, the earlier challenges we talked about, difficulty in getting to reach top decision makers and all those things, you are supposed to facilitate to ensure that these interactions happen. With the relationships that already exist, your job is to maintain and enhance the existing ones. You are supposed to monitor contract obligations established by a unit. Now, when we say monitor contract obligations, you do not necessarily have to be a lawyer. So we're not saying to practice industry relations as a public relations personnel, you're supposed to go and learn law. What this point is saying is, as a public relations personnel, you're focused on managing the image of your organization. And in all contracts, you would have your responsibilities or your duties or what the other party expects from you. Now, if you do not, hold up your end of the deal, you come across as untrustworthy. And that is not good for the image of the organization. And so that is the focus of you monitoring contract obligations, so that you ensure that each department of your HEI is doing what they are supposed to do in relation to agreements that you have with industry. So if you have an agreement with industry that maybe once every month, a spokesperson from your higher education institution would partner with a spokesperson from maybe that particular organization and speak on a topic on radio, for instance, you make sure it is happening. You understand? The people who are supposed to be doing the talking and all those things that are ready and up and doing. Let's see, which one are we going to talk about? Let's talk about hosting campus visits from external organizations that are partners. So in industry relations, of course, sometimes you would have your partners coming over to your institution to undertake, just sometimes even for a walkthrough or to see your institution and how things are going over there in the spirit of, comradeship. And it is your job as the PR to ensure that these visits are coordinated carefully and successfully. Of course, I didn't go through all the points. Some of them are pretty easy to understand. So let's continue. Now, after industry relations, let's come to community relations. Now, it says collaboration between institutions of higher education and their larger communities for mutually beneficial exchange of knowledge and resources. Now, when we say community, you would see the point that it says communities can be local, regional, national, or international. Community does not only refer to the neighborhood you are in. The common understanding of community is your neighbors or where you are situated. So we're not talking about only your geographical location as a community, although that is a community. We're also looking at different forms of community, like the community of HEIs. Because if you're a higher education institution, you belong to the community of higher education institutions. How are you relating to your sister HEIs? If you're we're talking about community, another way we can look at community is, I think we've talked about the first one, which is the neighborhood you're in, geographical location. How are you relating to those who are, like close to your location? Yeah. Are you overly, you and your students, are you overly polluting them, via noise? Are you ensuring your neighborhood is well kept? So you and your institution, you do not degenerate the neighborhood you are in, because your students are always throwing things in the gutter and the whole neighborhood is, because of the institution. Are you being a good neighbor? That is also part of community relations in a sense. We're also looking at community relations as the community of organizations in, for instance, a country. Now remember, even though you are an HEI and you belong to the community of HEIs, you also belong to the community of, should I say, institutions, registered institutions in your country. You belong to the community of public institutions or government-owned institutions. So that's also another community you belong to. That one, it's only private institutions don't belong to that one. And your institution, whether it is public or private. Yeah. So these are all various communities that you could belong to. And the focus of community relations is how you are acting or presenting your organization within these various communities that you find yourself in. Yeah. Okay. Now, still on community relations, let me expatiate some more on what is expected from HEIs in community relations. So, take for instance, you see the first point, it talks about HEIs playing a role in strengthening democratic values and civic engagement. Now, of course, the aim of the institution or the HEI is not solely to strengthen democratic values. That is not their job. But as an HEI in a democratic country, yeah, so you are looking at Ghana as a community. Now, you see how communities can vary. Now, we are looking at Ghana as a community, and we are looking at what an HEI can do to promote the interests of the nation. And one of the things you can do is, since you have the ear, you are an HEI, so you have students passing through you all the time. Since you have the ear of the young and those coming up to hold fantastic positions in society, it is only meet or it is only appropriate that you play a role in strengthening their understanding, their love for democracy and democratic values and civic engagement, what these individuals are supposed to do as conscientious citizens of the nation. And, public policy, contributing to cultural development, all these are things that you would find that universities do. So you realize sometimes universities inculcate certain courses like globalization and African development, or they put in certain languages that they feel all students must learn. Yeah, sometimes students wonder, why are we learning these things? It is because the institution sees that as part of its role as a member of the community, which is Ghana, one of the things they ought to do is to ensure or promote your love for the country, your love for the culture that you find yourself in. Yeah. Now, another thing universities can do as part of community relations is addressing large scale social challenges. What are some of the large scale social challenges that we find in countries? And what can HEIs do as part of the community of the country? What can they do? So if it's, for instance, if it is littering, yeah, the HEIs can undertake certain activities to reduce littering amongst at least their students, so that it becomes part of them, so that when they go out of the institution they become better people. So you realize that community relation goes beyond just good neighborliness. So moving forward, when you hear community relation, we are not talking only about you being a good neighbor. When you are in your neighborhood and you're being a good neighbor, you see your neighbor, you say hello, and then you walk away. You make sure you're not throwing rubbish where you're not supposed to be throwing rubbish. You make sure you're not disturbing them, noise wise. People parking on the road, your friends come visiting you, ensure they don't park on the road and block traffic. All those things are, just being a good neighbor. But community relations goes beyond that. So you're not just being a good neighbor, but you are involving yourself in the various communities that you find yourself in. You involve yourself in it and you ensure it becomes a better community. So that is what community relations is about. Now, just like we looked at what you can do to the task in industry relations, let's look at some of the things you'll be doing or some of the dimensions of community relations. We have teaching and learning. So some of these things I've talked about and you would realize as we go along. So in teaching and learning, so when we say these are dimensions of community relations, we are talking about the angles through which your HEI can relate with your community or help or contribute to your community. One is through teaching and learning. So you have a teaching methodology. So the institution has a teaching methodology that will combine classroom instruction, community service, student reflection, civic responsibility. So you see, the institution creates a curriculum that when you come to class, apart from what they will teach you, the text itself, they would give you some activities that would let you do something for the community. Yeah, they will give you certain questions that will make you reflect on your society and what you think should be done, what should not be done. Sometimes these things are not just for you to write and pass, but to give you an opportunity to really reflect on your society. And that is how HEIs are helping through teaching and learning when it comes to community relations. Research, conducting research on problems that are faced by the community. So you make it a community-based research. So if it is a problem being faced in your geographical community, you can conduct research. HEIs can conduct research in that field and present the findings so that people in the geographical society or community would know how to move. or how to answer their problems. It is the same with whether you are looking at Ghana as a community, or public institutions as a community, or private institutions as a community, or whatever challenges you may be having. HEIs could conduct research to help solve these challenges. Service and knowledge exchange, we have talked about it when we're talking about industry relations, but over here we are talking about service or knowledge exchange. So the staff, or especially the lecturers in your institution, are contributing to, more often than not, they contribute to public discussions or public discourse. So you will find that maybe on a radio station or a TV station, you're talking about, something that has become a canker in the society, and then you hear Professor so and so from this university is here with us, or Dr. So and so is here with us to share his thoughts on ABC. So that is in a way a community service, or service, by churning out knowledge, because they share this knowledge and people in power listen, and then they take the advice and make things better, hopefully. So student initiatives, university level engagement, all these are ways by which community relations could be had. So I think this one basically talks about what we have already talked about. Now, benefits of community relations, you look at, it says it produces a favorable public perception of the HEI, of course. It helps you to gain public support as you are part of the community and you're seen and you're heard. Whenever you have any challenges, you're sure that your organization is going to get some support from the public because they see what you're doing. So basically, community relations is to give your organization a positive image and to gain support from the public. And support from the public is always important. It's good to get as much as possible in your bank. When I say in your bank, I mean your support bank, not the physical bank that you put money in, but the bank where you put goodwill, the public goodwill. The more goodwill you have in your bank, the better, because you never know when a crisis would arise and when you need the support of the public. Now let us talk about image and reputation management. Now, arguably, some people would posit that this is the most important function of any public relations personnel anywhere. This is arguable. What is the image and reputation of the institution? Now, when we say image, generally, we are talking about how the public sees an institution. The public's perception of an institution. However, when we're talking about image, there are various breakdowns of image. Now, we're going to look at some here. One is what we call an intended image. Now, an intended image is how an organization wishes to be seen by its stakeholders. So, how any institution would have an idea of how they want their publics to see them. Sometimes you see it captured in their mission and vision. So that is how they want to be seen. That's their intended image. And then there is the construed image, which is how the organization believes it is currently seen. So the intended image is like how finally you want to be seen. It's like the end goal. And the construed image is how you are currently seen. So it's like you're on your way to your intended image, but this is how you are currently seen. And that is what we call the construed image. Yeah. But when we talk about reputation, reputation has to do with what do stakeholders actually think of an organization. So you realize that the intended and the construed are not really actuality. What do I mean? Intended image is how you want to be seen. Like, if all things being equal, this is how you want to be seen. The construed image is how you, the organization, think you are seen. And reputation is how you are actually seen. So you're able to see the difference over there. Right. It's important as we move along to get that distinction. Now, your image and your reputation can affect your stakeholder intentions. And what we mean by this is how you are seen can affect what your stakeholders intend about you or think about you. So maybe current students may be thinking, oh, if it is a negative perception or negative reputation, they may decide, I may not finish with this HEI. Maybe I might drop out and continue somewhere. Or after finishing with this diploma, I am not going to continue to do a degree in this HEI because of their reputation. You see how it is like. So your alumni, employees, employers, parents, all those, it will affect how they see you and how they will relate with you. And it also affects student loyalty and satisfaction. Of course, it is all captured in the first explanation I gave, which is how they will get to see you, how they will feel about you, and the plans they will have about you and your institution could be affected by your image or your reputation. Now, an HEI image is not absolute, but relative to the images conveyed by other HEIs. Now, what we mean by this is you are not an island. An HEI is not an island. You exist among other HEIs. So you are seen in comparison to other HEIs. It is like when one individual approaches another individual expressing romantic interest. Now, mind you, more often than not, there are other people who have also expressed their romantic interest in that same person. So what will happen is you will be assessed in light of all the others who have applied. Yeah. And then one will be chosen. So it will be more like this individual is kinder than all of them. This individual is not as thoughtful as that individual. So you see, it is in relation to others. So you are not absolute. What this is trying to mean is if one institution is doing better than you in a certain arena, it will show. If it is with customer service or how your staff relate to your students, it will show. And how? Because they will compare it with other HEIs and say, as for this HEI, this is how things are done, but this one, this is how things are done. Yeah. Okay. So it is the strategies you use. When we talk, the strategies we are talking about here are your communication strategies. What the strategies you are using, how you are implementing these strategies. Yeah. And how they are implemented. So we are talking about your tactics. And these things you have learned them in basic public relations, strategies and tactics, and how they are perceived by their publics. So all of these things come together to create a certain image about you. Now, there's something interesting that Kotler and Fox mention. They say that people form images of HEIs or of organizations or even of people on limited, they form the image on limited information or even inaccurate. So the information they get that makes them conclude on the organization's image most of the time is either very small or even inaccurate. And this is what will affect whether people will attend your HEI or even recommend your HEI. Now, you see how interesting it is. So what you are known by, or your image or your reputation, may not necessarily be what you actually are, but what people think you are. So if you're a good person, no matter how good you are, if people think you're a bad person, there's a problem. And that is why HEIs must understand the image they portray and make sure that it is accurate and favorable. It accurately reflects the institution and it is favorable. So if you want to create a certain perception that you are an institution of choice when it comes to, let's say, communication or public relations, how are you going about communicating that? Yeah? How are people seeing the strategies you are putting together? If you decide, okay, I want to show that I am a fantastic communication institution, so what I will be doing is I will be offering a lot of communication courses or programs. The question is that how people will see it? Will they see it as, oh, it's a sign that they're a good communication institution? Or they will see it as a sign that these people are just randomly and haphazardly bringing up programs because they just want money? You see how it is like. So that is the point Kotler and Fox are saying, that you have to be careful that image or reputation stems from the people and what they believe, and what it is not what actually is. Yeah? Okay. What are some of the things that can affect an institution's image or reputation? The quality of their teaching, the quality of their research. If the research that the students or the staff churn out are really basic and not really engaging or intriguing or well researched, it can affect the reputation. I think last year UCC, University of Cape Coast, they were ranked as the top research institution worldwide. Now imagine what this would give to their reputation or image. This is what we are talking about. Community service. What they are doing, I think we've talked about community service, what they are doing for your community, how they're going about supporting the community they're in. Media coverage. What are the media saying about your institution? Your infrastructure. The kind of buildings or the kind of arrangements you have. If it is a distance learning, it's all part of infrastructure. Do you have, let's say, a good system, let's say an online system, management system that will be able to ensure that all students are online, you're able to have your assignments marked, able to have your examinations, marked accurately and perfectly? Are you going to get it all on time, or is the system going to mess up and then the network is poor, and all those challenges that you'll be having with your infrastructure, you could be having with your infrastructure. Now, so the point is, all these things go to give you a good or a bad reputation as an institution. Your academic programs, is the content relevant for the job market? Is it that you're teaching archaic things, or you're teaching things that people hear, oh, we're running this program, and they go like, wow, they're thinking for the future, and everybody is rushing to come to your institution? That could affect your image or reputation. So you see, prestige, sporting excellence, blah blah blah, all these things can affect the image and reputation of the higher education institution. So your task as a PR when it comes to image and reputation management, you're supposed to form relationship with stakeholders so that they become effective ambassadors. Now, when we are talking about stakeholders, you remember your stakeholders are your students, your alumni, parents, all these people. Now, so what we're saying here is form great relationship with them so that they will sing songs about you, good songs. Yeah, because third party reference is better than, your own, blowing your own horn. People tend to believe what others say about you rather than what you say about yourself. So it's good to work on your relationship with stakeholders. So you have to work on reflecting an accurate and favorable image. And when you are working on reflecting an accurate and favorable image, remember that it is not just about running your mouth. When we say running your mouth, getting the media to say favorable things, but ensuring that your various departments are actually doing or being who they say they are. Yeah, because eventually people get to see behind the facade. So if your institution is not what you're claiming it is, eventually word will get out there, and all the work you have done in touting the things you lied about will be exposed, and you dig yourself deeper. So you do not, just know, when we say you're working on reflecting an accurate and favorable image, we don't mean telling lies and saying things that do not exist, but actually ensuring that you're presenting the image that you claim you have. So, in conclusion, industry relations, community relations, and image and reputation are some functions of public relations in higher education institution. It needs that there's a collaboration among the various stakeholders if it's supposed to be able to work effectively. And remember, the PR, your job is not a one-man job, like just you. You're supposed to work in tandem with your stakeholders, else the ship will sink. You would have to be consistent in your image presentation. What you're saying about yourself has to be consistent. Consistency is key when you're sending a message out. If you keep changing your message, people start tuning out because they kind of see you as not reliable. This person is saying this about himself, tomorrow he's saying that about himself. Next time the person says something about himself or herself, all you will say is, you know what, let's not act on what they are saying now or what this person is saying now, because tomorrow the person might change his story. So let's wait. You don't want people thinking that. So make your brand or your image consistent and ensure, as I said, you involve all your stakeholders. Now, if you have any question, please, we try to make the slides self-explanatory so that the talking is less. But if you have any questions, please feel free to enter it in there, and I would help you answer them. Thank you.